The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of Spaced Out Radio or Spaced Out Radio Limited is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Are you experienced?
Stop right there!
From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
They let us play with all our toys, they let us think that we're big boys, they let us make a lot of noise, but we ain't rule the world. They let us think we're Superman.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on iTunes and TuneIn. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you. I will stop till I reach the top just to be there with you.
Dave, oh Dave, are you playing with Bigfoot and aliens again?
Dad, you gotta stop haunting the goats. It's scaring them.
All right, seriously, put down the pointy sticks.
Oh, the deeper I fall.
Okay! Game on! Game on! Game on!
The password is...
All right.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio. Mr. Bumblefoot, Dave is ready for liftoff.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you.
Seriously, Dave? Really? Aren't you a little old for a tinfoil hat?
Hello, Toby. Bye-bye. Nephew. Bye-bye.
Please take your seat above us. We're with you. It's time to pick up. Start. 2, 1. Boost ignition and lift off.
I'm such a lucky guy, 'cause after all this time, it's like the deeper I go, the deeper I fall. The deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott, and it's great to have you along for the ride on this Tuesday, August 2nd, Wednesday, August 3rd. Actually, we're a day behind. It's only the 1st today and 2nd tomorrow. If you're on the East Coast or across the pond, hope you had a great day and night. We are live right here in the Great White North on top of the Smoky Mountains of central British Columbia as we are live 7 days a week. We welcome in everyone listening in on our terrestrial stations, WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on KTLK, The Fringe FM, United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. SpacedOutRadio.com, Spreaker, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas, the High Plains Talk Radio Network, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listeners. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Like our music, get your horns up for Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, currently of Art of Anarchy. Bumblefoot is the official sound of SOR. You can follow us all over social media. How about on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio? Give our Facebook page a like. Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. We're on iHeartRadio in the United States. Tune in. Download our shows from iTunes. We're also on Player.fm, TalkStream Live, RadioGuide.fm, and Stitcher. Our website, of course, is SpacedOutRadio.com. And if you go over to Patreon.com, for as low as $1 a month, you can become a patron of SOR as well. Now, if you want to take part in this show, you got to do me a favor. You got to sign into one of our chat rooms, either on our website, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, the UPRN chat room, or join us on Facebook at the SOR Space Travelers Club. Or if you're on Twitter, use the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. I will get to your questions and comments in there as well. Now, for heading to our website for just $5 a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. You can also head to our store, pick up a t-shirt, poster, and stickers. Read up on the encounter online, courtesy of our editors, Eric Markham and Everett Thiemer. Check out my latest blog there as well. And if you've had an experience you can't explain, fill out an SOR Sightlines report. Tim Doyle from UFO Seekers and Leslie Mitchell-Clark's Contact TV also have some great video viewing as well. The first Tuesday of every month, we connect with our spiritual side, as we all need a little zen sometimes, right? That's why we bring in the vibrant and talented spiritualist, Elizabeth April, with the Spiritual You. It's a feature that is important to us here, as for many of us, it's a tough go in this world, whether it's work, relationships, stability, family, finances, or friends. Now, this isn't your ordinary psychic show. No, we look beyond the readings to see what is happening with our own internal self and how we can improve upon it. One thing is for certain, we all have a bright side and a dark side, whether we like to admit it or not. We all have skeletons in the closet that we all hope never come out. So how do we then cleanse ourselves from this negative energy we put on ourselves and the ones we care about? Hey, I admit I'm not perfect. I have many skeletons of my own. But trying to deal with the stress that causes it can be mortifying for some. So tonight, Elizabeth will enlighten us on how to ground ourselves from the daily negativity we get hit with, and so much more. Elizabeth April, it's been a month. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, Dave. So nice to be back. Yeah, it's been a full month, and it has been a whirlwind, and I think that that's what you were talking about as well. It's just, so much happening. Time seems absolutely irrelevant these days, so yeah, it just feels like this past month has been more like a couple of years instead of a month.
Oh, tell me about it.
I think everyone can kind of agree with that. The energy's been pretty intense recently.
Absolutely. And, between the forest fires up here, getting evacuated, and then getting back home, and the stress that the forest fires may light up again, and there's one 25 miles away encroaching ever faster, I tell you, it is stress. We've made some changes around here, and that's been stressful, but in a good way. And I'll tell you, I don't know how much more a lot of people can take in their lives, because everything seems to be so unrestful for so many people right now. And, before we get into tonight's topic, because we have you for the first 2 hours, and we're going to continue with Elizabeth Anglin in hour number 3, because this is EA night. Tell people who are first-time listeners or about you a little bit. How did you get into this? Because your words are so much wiser than a lot of people I've talked to on this show when it comes to spirituality. Yet you're so young and vibrant. How do you do it?
Yeah, so, I was born with these gifts and abilities, which definitely gives me that leg up in life. And really, the main thing that I focus on is channeling information. So I'm pretty much able, through the number of years that have passed, to really hone in on my abilities and gain access to any information across space and time itself, which is pretty cool. So, it really started with me remembering all of my past lifetimes. And that being said, regardless of, my birth certificate or my age, like you said, I'm so much older than just that number because, I am actually in full awareness of everyone and everywhere I've been before, which means that all the lessons that I've learned in past lifetimes, now I'm here helping everyone else out learn those lessons as well, right? Now, not to say that I'm not still learning lessons, because if I wasn't, I wouldn't be human here. So, regardless of where you're at spiritually, I feel like we're all learning the same human lessons. And I think that that's a really great topic that we're going to be touching upon tonight, which is relationships. And this is one of the biggest human lessons that we all have to learn here. So, yeah, so I've just, I've gone from past life regressions to quantum hypnosis to channeling to psychic readings to, a little bit about everything. And I try not to limit myself on just one modality. So I am very well-rounded with the energy work that I do. And really, my goal is to reach as many people as possible with the pure source of information that I have access to. So it's a little bit about, my background and why I'm here tonight talking about all of this great stuff, which I'm hoping that resonates with all the listeners.
And, for someone who has been given this information, do you feel a little bit of a responsibility to try and convey that message back to people, or do you wait for people to come to you? Because there's a lot of times out there for people who are spiritual in their own right, but they don't always get the message. So how do you make the message clear?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So for me, I am constantly always feeling a pressure, this unforeseeable pressure, to spread this information. And I've had this pressure since I would say since I can remember consciously, around the age of 10 years old, of just knowing that I needed to get something out to the rest of humanity and not knowing exactly what that was. And now, of course, throughout the years, understanding what my purpose is, what my mission is, and really what that information is, and now I'm almost feeling that pressure more to reach constantly more people, right, to get this message across. But like your question assumed, or are you just waiting for people to be ready for that information and to ask you? And so now, I'm really much better at discerning where someone is at and what they really need in their life. And I actually don't offer up any information that humanity or society isn't ready for or that someone doesn't ask for. So I have really limited the information that I put out there, because before it was like, oh, I'm receiving everything. I guess humanity needs everything. And then I started to realize that humanity wasn't necessarily ready for everything that I was receiving. So you really do have to be very aware of where humanity is at and what I'm receiving at the same time. So I do feel this pressure to give, with this responsibility of this information. But at the same time, I understand that if I overgive, then I'm going to face the repercussions of that. So, I'm kind of back and forth, always tipping the scale on one end or the other to see where humanity's at versus, what information I'm receiving at the time.
Did you ever get caught in one of those situations where you had information that you felt just this absolute urge that you had to give out, and then when you gave that information, all hell broke loose and backfired on you when you thought you were doing something right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've encountered many of those situations to the point where, I react and get emotional. And this was years ago, but yeah, and I thought that, I'm in a great place and I feel like everyone can be happy with this information because knowledge is liberating. And so I thought I could liberate everyone, especially my loved ones, my friends and family. And then I started to realize, wow, they're really not ready for that. And if anything, they're actually resisting me more so than ever before, right? Because some people are just unaware of their own ignorance and they choose not to see the truth. And that's when you have to really back off. But I do have a rule of thumb nowadays, which is the first rule of thumb that I have working with individuals is I do not give anything unless it's asked for, which means that, once that person asks for that information, they're ready for it. Other than that, I don't overgive. And then the other rule of thumb is if it comes to me, so if it comes channeled through me from their spirit guides, then that person is ready to hear it. So your spirit guides, will give me everything that you need to know, and I don't hold back on any of that information because I truly believe that if it was given to me by your spirit guides, then you're meant to hear it. Other than that, I don't filter anything myself. Other than universal truths. Those are big concepts that society might not always be ready for, but individual truths and information, as long as it's coming to me from your spirit guides, you're ready to hear it. But other than that, every once in a while, I will get blocked from the spirit guides and saying, that person isn't ready for that information based on usually expectation and attachment. And that's when I know to back off a little bit.
So what's it like to get blocked where all of a sudden you are gaining information and somebody keeps, because people are curious. I'm curious myself. You've given me personal readings and we've had that blockage come up. What causes that blockage? Why does that happen?
Yeah, great question. There's a variety of different factors of why. I mean, the main factor here is that person wouldn't make the right decisions if they had the knowledge in the first place. So they just don't give that person that knowledge. You know what I mean? So that person isn't ready for it. And that's one of the main reasons. Another main reason why information isn't always clear or I get blocked from it is that there are too many variables at play. So I have a lot of people asking me about work situations. So like, okay, well, should I hire this person? Is this person going to get fired? Am I going to go on the executive trip? All of these different questions. And for the most part, it's like, okay, well, I can see a number of different variables, but because there's 5 other people making this decision, there's so many different different pathways for this information. So the future isn't clear when there's just too many different realities and too many different variables at play. And then the other reason, and this is another big reason, especially in relationships that I find that I get blocked from, is your guides won't give me information if it's going to inhibit your expectation and attachment. So say, for example, I tell one of my female clients, okay, well, I see someone coming into your life, but I will never say, and your guides will never say that person is quote unquote, the one for you in your life. And the reason being is because if I say, oh yeah, okay, in 2019, you're going to meet the one, that person will let go of anyone else coming across their path just to wait for that person and then put all of their expectation and attachment into that person. And usually that relationship doesn't go so well because there is so much expectation and attachment. So your guides have to be very, very careful about how they present the information to that person, because it could really mess up future timelines if I just give way too much, So the guides can be kind of coy about information sometimes and kind of dance around the direct truth based on that person's ego and their perception and how they're going to take that information and work with it in their own reality.
Well, let's say this then. What about, because people want that answer,
yeah.
What happens then if I say, and let's use me as an example, let's say, you know what, I am not satisfied with you being blocked by someone or by spirit or the guides. And then I go to a different psychic and I get the answer that I was looking for, or maybe not the one I was looking for, but I get an answer. How do I know that that person is right and you were blocked, or maybe they're just making it up?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of different things here. So sometimes I find that channelers and psychics will literally just tell you what you want to hear. So that's sometimes a problem, you know? If that psychic is not confident enough to say, look, I'm not receiving the answer, and instead of, you know, owning up to the fact that they're just not getting anything for that question, they'll just kind of feel it out and tell you what you want to hear. Like that's a really bad situation, you know, because they're giving you disinformation. But, and this is a little bit more rare, but I have seen this as well, is that sometimes that person, first of all, isn't meant to hear that information at that time. So literally, it could be one day that person is making all these wrong decisions and they're not receiving information because they need to find that decision on their own. It could be literally the next day where they seek someone else out and all of a sudden they've made those decisions to seek that information out on their own, and now their guides are willing to, you know, relay that information or that truth. So trust me, there are so many infinite possibilities that could or couldn't happen regarding this. And then another case is that sometimes I find that that channeler or that psychic is not the right psychic to tell that person. So it's just not the right person to relay that information to. So sometimes that person will be blocked in relaying that information. So it's kind of interesting. Once again, infinite number of possibilities here. And it is really difficult to discern between what channeler, what psychic is telling you just what you want to hear and actually giving you the truth. And my rule of thumb is, you know, if I'm not telling the truth, then I'm not going to say anything at all. And I'm going to be quite blatant and quite open about it because everything that I do relay is pretty spot on. So I try not to mess around with that too much and just kind of give in to that question. I try and be as open and honest as possible. But really what it comes down to for the listeners and, you know, discerning for themselves, it comes down to a resonation, right? That person is going to either, you know, resonate with you or not. And that's really truly what it comes down to. And you just have to kind of feel it out for yourself and ask yourself, okay, does that feel right or not? You know what I mean? And just kind of being aware of your own, resonation with them.
So let me ask you, when you are blocked on a message, and let's be honest with you, I was asking you something earlier about my career and where it's going because, you know, you're very kind and gracious to let me ask a couple of questions before the show, and I appreciate that. And so I'm asking about my career, where I'm going and the direction I'm in, and you get a block. Now, when you get a block, what happens? Does Spirit or the guide say to you, yeah, we're not going there, he's not ready for that information, or are you seeing like a blank screen? What are you going through?
Yeah, it's actually funny. Like it can be a variety of things. Yeah, it really depends. So sometimes I get a brick wall. Like literally they will give me a wall, like a wall of energy. And I'm like, okay, can't go there. Sometimes it will be just blank. Most of the time they say, hey, sorry, that person isn't meant to know right now. Or, you know, in your case with career path, things like that, things are so up in the air, things are so uncertain, there haven't been the right decisions being made, so the guides literally can't give you one thing or another. Once again, if they were, then they're making that decision for you. The biggest thing about the channeled messages that I receive is that I ask and put out the intention that I receive these messages to empower my clients, not to disempower them. So I don't want to give you all the answers so that all of a sudden you can just kind of sit back in life and not make any decisions. That's not the purpose for me in your life, right? So it's so important that it's not like, okay, well, you have to do this, this, and this. And then all of a sudden when you're not doing that, that, and that, you feel thrown into anxiety because you're not, quote unquote, following your path, right? So once again, it's not about that conversation. It's about you making decisions on your own and having that extra guidance. And then just back to your question, every once in a while, and this is kind of funny, I'll ask a question, and usually this is more like, I would say like hindering on conspiracy theory, universal truth, government stuff, and I'll ask a question to the guides, and I'll actually get this, it looks like a file folder, and it has this huge red letters across it, classified, and the file folder will be thrown down in front of me. Nope, that is classified information. Usually that shocks me because I pretty much receive anything. So every once in a while, I'll be blocked in that way as well, and that's kind of how I receive it visually. But yeah, so blocked in a variety of different ways, but and it's not too often that I'm blocked, but it usually does have to do with future stuff.
The funny part about it is I cannot believe how many psychics get blocked by my questions. It has happened more often than you think. And it's happening less and less since I actually started opening up myself.
Okay. Yeah.
But since everything, before that, oh man, I was blocked. I was so blocked. And it was frustrating, to say the least. I would ask my friend Krista, what do you think of this? Am I doing this right? And she'd be like, yeah. Nope, blocked. No, I can't tell you. They're not giving me anything. They don't want you to know. But that can also cause a lot of stress on people too. So how do you deal with the stress that people have when you get blocked?
Yeah, you know what? Like, mostly people are pretty good because I'm giving them so much information. It's almost like an information overload. So if I get blocked on something, people don't really mind too much, I find. Like, people, and I just want to actually mention, I went through a period of my life before I really tuned into my own channeling where I was literally going to see a psychic like every other week. And I would try everyone I could get my hands on. I heard that someone was good, I would go to them. And really, time and time again, I'd be disappointed, right? And I'm sure a lot of people have that experience as well. But for me, I was looking so far outside of myself that I would ask the same question to 3 different psychics, and I would get a different answer every single time. Now, this actually comes down to like tarot card readings as well. So if anyone's played around with a tarot card deck, you'll know that, if you really want to know something and you're unsatisfied with the card that you pulled, you'll ask the same question multiple times, and, you'll get multiple answers every time. And time again, the answers get more and more complicated, more and more convoluted, and you just get more and more confused, And honestly, that is the universe and your spirit guide saying, stop looking outside of yourself and start just asking yourself. You have the answers within. All you have to do is quiet your mind. And usually when, there's something going on in your life that's so drastic that you need to search for those answers, your mind is rapidly pacing so that it's so difficult to quiet your mind. But that's really what I have to recommend is, the more and more you search outside of yourself with tarot card readings or other psychics, the more the guides are just going to kind of play around with you until you stop all of that and you just focus on you and you focus on quieting your mind, then you will be led in the right direction. But until then, until you pull up your own socks, you're going to be run around the maze. And that's just how universal truth works. And I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it in many, many clients. So it's really important to understand that, doing that outside objective check, really important, but you cannot rely on other people or other objective things to tell you that information. You have to really rely on your own senses and your own intuition as well.
I understand that, and I know, like earlier when you and I were talking about, because in my daytime career, I'm about to make a change, and I think it's for the positive, but a lot of people, like for instance, I don't trust my own intuition. I cannot, at times, decipher what is intuitiveness and what is emotion. And so I can say this, it sure helps because I'm lucky enough to be in this position where I could contact you or contact Elizabeth Anglin or Art Keith Andrews or whoever else, that if I have a question that I'm not feeling up on my own intuition and cannot decipher between what it is or not, that I could call you up. But a lot of people don't have that. So how do they decipher what is emotion and what is actually intuition?
Yeah, that's actually a really great question. There's a really simple way to decipher this, actually. And, It's simply put, but it's very, very convoluted when you're in the middle of it. And what it comes down to decipher emotion from intuition, what it comes down to is one word. And the word is reaction, right? And if we are in reaction, then we are in emotion. If we are without reaction, then we are in intuition. Now, that being said, reaction is attachment, it is judgment, it is jealousy, it is negative and positive, it is all of that. And intuition is being completely neutral, completely, I guess you could call it zened out, but completely neutral, and just kind of in that place, in that space where your mind is quiet enough where things come to you. Now, if you are in reaction, if you are smothered by emotion, then absolutely your mind isn't quiet enough for the intuition to creep in. So as long as you are quieting your mind, quieting that reaction, quieting that emotion, then the intuition will naturally flow. Intuition comes to you, reaction comes from something, emotion comes from somewhere. Right? So that's the easiest way to tell. And then the other thing too is say, if you ask a question, if you ask yourself a question and you're looking for an intuitive response. So say, for example, should I be dating this guy, and that's a question that you're asking yourself. Well, your ego, your reaction, your emotion, your attachment says, yes, I want to be dating this guy. This is my truth, this is my intuition telling me this. And it's almost like you're convincing yourself that it's your intuition. When really, if you ask the question, should I be with this guy, and you wait, and you quiet your mind, and you let go of any and all attachment, expectation, reaction, and emotion, the answer will just naturally pop into your head. So once again, you have to ask yourself, am I in reaction? Am I smothered by my emotions in this moment? And the answer will be quite clear. And if you are in reaction in that moment, then you need to take a moment to separate yourself from that reaction so that you can move forward.
What about for somebody who has their heart broken? Because there's a lot of people out there, I think we've all gone through this situation. One way or another, we've had our heart broken. And then you're trying to look into your own self and figure out, both the emotion and the instinct that goes along with that at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, the biggest thing when you get your heart broken is, and this is so difficult for the majority of society, and it's actually feeling that emotion. Like the best thing anyone could ever do, especially when getting your heart broken, is to actually just sit with that heartbreak, to feel that emotion. And the number one thing that every single human does, myself included, is distract ourselves from that emotion. And what tends to happen when I see people getting their heart broken because of a bad breakup, and really what is a bad breakup but a lesson that you're learning, right? So what tends to happen when you're learning this lesson and you're in the middle of this breakup is that you distract yourself with something else. And what that distraction leads to is the same lesson being repeated over and over and over again. The more we distract ourselves and look away from that emotion, the more and more that emotion is going to follow us and come back up, right? We're just suppressing the inevitable. So why not just sit with it? If you feel sad, cry. If you feel crappy, lay in bed for the day, Don't be hard on yourself. Feel those emotions. Try not to distract yourself. It's okay. It's all a process of being human. And then you will actually learn how to move forward a lot faster when you actually just take the time in the first place to learn and feel what it is that you're going through.
Why is it important to feel that pain, though? Because it's natural human reaction to try and block it, because, let's face it, pain is not good, whether it's physical pain or emotional pain.
Yes, but also think about pain being the opposite of elation, right? And this reality, this third dimension physical reality, exists purely on binaries. It is quantum physics and quantum mechanics that state that if there is, there isn't. If Schrodinger's cat exists, it also simultaneously doesn't exist. If there is good, there is bad. If there is pain and suffering, then there is happiness and elation, right? So in order to experience utter happiness, we also need to experience utter loss. And that is literally just the way this society works. We cannot grow as a humanity, and we absolutely cannot grow as an individual if we do not have pain in our lives. Sorry to say it, everyone needs to go through this.
That sucks, you know. There's a lot of people hurting out there. They didn't want to hear that. They didn't want to hear that. They wanted to be in their own emotional telephone booth of pain. Yep. You know, and you can't blame them for that because nobody ever feels that anybody else understands. So as we transition here into the whole relationship aspect and intuition, there's a lot of people out there who try to read their lover, their mate, their partner, whoever they want to be, to try and make sure that they are getting the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, whether it's from the heart or whether it's from the soul. What kind of advice do you give people when it comes to relationships?
Oh, I mean, that's a pretty loaded question. There is so much. I mean, when you're talking about relationships and just truth, once again, it is all about discerning for yourself and feeling it out. You know, every once in a while, you'll get a bad relationship, and deep down, you'll feel that something is not right. And a lot of us don't listen to our own intuitive feelings. And that's when we get into a whole world of trouble. Is that we have that intuition. The universe is trying to scream out at us. But if we're not listening, if we're not quieting our minds, then we will never be able to hear those messages. So, you know, listen to your intuition, listen to that gut feeling. If you feel like something is up with your partner and there's some sort of weird trust issue that you have going on, you know, you have to bring it up. Because if you never bring it up, then it will never come to light what is the truth and what isn't. So it really does all come down to conversation and communication with your partner, you know, is the biggest thing. And there's many different things that we can, you know, talk about and go into regarding relationships and how to really understand your partner, understand yourselves in a relationship as well as out of a relationship. And once again, it really does all come down to lessons and learning. So say, for example, you know, you didn't listen to your intuition. All of a sudden, you're really hurt, you're heartbroken, and you're completely baffled at, you know, something that you maybe got blindsided about because, once again, you didn't listen to your intuition. What I have to say to that is that it's all a lesson, you know? Even if you do get blindsided, that pain, that hurt, that heartbreak, that's going to take you to the next eventual step. And most likely the case is that that person wasn't meant to be in your life anyway. It was all predestined contracts, all laid out for you to learn that lesson. Once again, this is most likely a lesson that, you know, these people have learned before, whether, you know, in past relationships or past lifetimes. It's all repeated. If something comes up again as a challenge, most likely it's not the first time you've been learning this, but hopefully, you know, it's going to be the last.
There's a lot of people who have had their spouses cheat on them, or move over to different relationships, or just hold back on it. It might not even be sexual. It could be drugs. It could be alcohol. It could be any type of addiction out there. Yet they're good at hiding it. How do you deal with the intuition if you're sensing there is some sort of cover-up going on within a partner?
Yeah, I mean, once again, when you're feeling that way, when you get those red flags and those triggers, that's when you seriously need to bring it up to your partner, right? I mean, and to be honest, if you had, you know, an open, loving, compassionate relationship, then it should be no problem to bring something like that up to your partner. Any questions, fears, doubts, and insecurities that you have towards them. And if that partner, that person can't handle those fears, doubts, and insecurities, then that's another red flag. And maybe you should really start questioning the nature of your relationship if that's the case, you know?
My daughter texted me there.
Okay, yeah.
I do apologize.
Yeah, no worries.
But there's a lot of people, too, who like being single. And they don't like the BS that goes on with a relationship, and they're very satisfied with being single and being very comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what I tend to find actually with people who are single and versus, I guess, people in relationships is that people who are single tend to distract themselves more, which is so interesting because I find that, like, I would say 90% of the population out there, and that's a high number, 90% of the population out there, I find, is unhappy. That's right. Like, seriously, deep down, you can throw all the BS excuses out there you want to convince yourself to help yourself sleep at night, but at the end of the day, you're unhappy and you're unsatisfied. And a lot of people project that on their partners. But the truth is, the only reason why these people are unhappy is because of themselves. They don't care about themselves enough. And a lot of that does come from society and childhood and past lifetimes and these perpetual cycles. But what I tend to find, especially with clients, my own experiences, is that whether you are in a relationship or you are single, you are full of distraction. So people who are in relationships love to distract themselves with destructive relationships, which means that either you are a jealous person and that jealousy is destroying the relationship, either you are worried about your partner and you've got fear and survival-based mentality based on your partner, and that's a big distraction, or all you want is a future with your partner, and that's a big distraction. But once again, I find that people in relationships, their biggest distraction is their partner. What are they trying to escape from? They're trying to escape from their own unhappiness. Very similar, likewise, with people who are single. When I find, clients, people who are unhappy and they're single, they distract themselves through other things. Maybe it is drugs. Maybe it is caffeine or coffee, Maybe it is shopping. Maybe it is video games or social media. But once again, no matter if you're single or in relationships, the biggest problem that I find in society is distraction. You have to ask yourself, what is my biggest distraction in life? And what am I trying to distract myself from?
What about those who are satisfied with just being on their own? They don't want that. They don't want the headache. Maybe they've been burnt too many times or one really bad time that they just choose to spiritually turn off any type of connection with people.
And that's absolutely a free will choice that everyone has to make. And I have absolutely no judgment on those people whatsoever. I prefer human connection at the end of the day to no human connection. But I know a lot of people who aren't interested in the whole relationship thing and just really get satisfied from their friends and family. And that is absolutely kudos to those people as well. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, as long as they are truly happy and satisfied and they aren't trying to convince themselves that they're happy and satisfied because they don't have someone. So it really does come down to that individual person. I'm not one to judge where someone is or isn't in their own lives, but as long as that's an authentic happiness, then absolutely kudos to that person for choosing something that makes them happy.
One of my friends, Corey, in the chat room says, I thankfully have learned to not be jealous anymore. Probably the biggest lesson in life that she's learned. Now, when you hear a comment like that, is that because it's during those tough times there is a harsh lesson that needs to be learned, and sometimes you have to learn it the hard way through spirit?
It's almost like you always have to learn it the hard way, or else there is no good way. You know what I mean? Like, there always has to be that balance of binary. And when you are with a partner and you're learning this tough lesson, no matter it be jealousy or attachment or, whatever that may be, judgment, it's tough. It's a tough lesson. It's something that's on your mind all the time. It's something that triggers you. It's something that you react to. And actually, this is a really good rule of thumb for the listeners, is that whatever makes you react the most is essentially your biggest lesson. So just kind of keeping that in mind as well, like with your partners, in your relationships, if you tend to find that your partner triggers you a lot or you react a lot to your partner, it essentially means that there's a huge lesson that you need to learn from your partner. If you choose not to learn that lesson, once again, you will be recreating that same partner, that same lesson in someone else.
Do you advise to not try and read your own partner on a spiritual or intuitive level? And the reason why I ask that is, there are things that you're probably not meant to see that could throw trust out the window, especially if you get the message wrong, or it could show a lack of trust in yourself. Should you read your partner if you're intuitive?
That's a really good question. You know what? I would say no, it wouldn't be a good idea. Like, that relationship is in your life to be human. You know what I mean? Like, if you had a really great relationship with like a teacher or a guru or like, some sort of spiritual mentor, like, absolutely, read each other, get into it, feel it out. But if you're in a relationship with a person and you're in that relationship to have emotions and connections authentically, then kind of going behind their back and creeping on their energy is just as bad, in my opinion, as, looking through their emails or text messages without their permission. So I would, it is a trust issue big time. And if you have those issues and you feel like you do need to check up on that partner of yours, then maybe you need to start asking yourself, why you don't feel comfortable in confronting that partner with these issues, right? So I absolutely would advise against, checking up on a partner like that. Although I do have many clients who come to me and ask me about their husbands or their wives and to see if they are indeed cheating on them, which is, once again, like, that's a huge responsibility on my shoulders to present that information as clearly, objectively, and viably as possible.
That is a very, very dangerous topic to go, because if you get that wrong,
yep,
you are up shit creek without a paddle. No pun intended there.
Yep.
So how do you deal with something like that when a client comes up to you and says, "Look, I want to know if my wife is having an affair while I'm away at work and she's a stay-at-home mom, or my husband comes home late from work every single night, but especially late on Tuesdays, and he's never been late on Tuesdays." How do you deal with situations like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the greatest thing about that is that it's actually not me dealing with the situations. Like, yeah, I'm the face of the information, but I'm not the source of the information, which is so beautiful. That takes a huge weight off of my 25-year-old back. So it is coming straight from the guides, and the guides know how to deal with each individual's energy. So if that person needs to hear it in this way, they'll give it to that person in that way. And if that person is not ready to hear the truth in that moment, well, guess what? The guides aren't going to give that information to that person, So it is all very individualized as far as where that person is at, what they can handle, what they're ready for, and what their contracts, predestined contracts, will allow. Sometimes for a third party to come into their lives and give them a bunch of truth is just not a part of their contracts. Sometimes these people have to just kind of experience that heartbreak and that realization on their own. And it's difficult for me to kind of sit back and, not be able to receive some of that information because that person may or may not be ready for it. So it is kind of a difficult situation, but once again, best part about that is that it isn't coming from me. And I think that most of my clients realize that as well.
So when you get the person out there who is feeling anxious, depressed, maybe has a heartache, or even worse, a soul ache, how do you tell them to deal with it from a spiritual level?
That's a really good question. You know what? Okay, this just came to me. It all comes down to self-love, like that at the end of the day. Now, there's actually something that just came up here, and and it's something physical. So I'm not sure if it's something that, whoever's listening, or maybe just, this is like the majority of people who are going through heartbreak. The guides are actually bringing up lower back pains here. And they're mentioning that, especially after a heartbreak, and a soul break, A lot of people experience lower back issues and lower back pain. And the reason why the guides are bringing this up is because the lower back represents support in your life. And when you have a partner, you have a perceived amount of support. And the reason why I'm saying perceived is because in your own mind, in your own reality, you might think that you're being very supported, but in actual reality, that partner isn't supporting you at all, right? So it's all just kind of like this disillusion. And what I tend to find is that once the whole realization comes true as far as, oh my goodness, this person is out of my life, there's this huge understanding of, wow, I was only ever receiving love from that person. And now I have no love in my life at all. Once again, this idea of no longer having love in your life is actually a complete illusion in and of itself. The only source that you should ever be receiving any love from is from yourself, right? You are infinite source. You are your own universe. So if you're experiencing heartbreak, the number one thing that I always suggest for everyone to do is to start loving themselves, Go out, book yourself a massage, maybe a spa day, maybe go take a hike in the woods. Do something that serves you, that satisfies you. Do something that is just for you and for no one else. And that right there is how you're going to complete that heartache and that soul ache is really just to complete that within yourself. Once again, you haven't lost a piece of yourself. You have just lost an aspect of your ego. That's it. There is no loss. There is only a perceived amount of loss.
I thought that's what ice cream and sad movies were for.
Yep.
Well, we have about 5 minutes here before we got to go to our first break of the night. When you are having a client who comes in and they're having an emotionally hard time, maybe they lost a loved one, maybe they lost the love of their life in a relationship, who decided to go into a different direction, how do you combat how do you teach them on how to separate the emotional aspect of the loss from the spiritual gain that they will be getting, like shedding a new skin?
Yes, absolutely. There really isn't any cut and paste. I can't just say one thing that's going to take all of that heartbreak away. There's literally, once again, it is a human emotion that everyone needs to experience. So there really isn't one thing that I can say, but the best thing that I can say is be as objective as possible, right? So the more that you're in reaction, attachment, expectation, oh, it could have been like this. Oh, what if I didn't do that? Oh, well, what if, and it's so much reaction. Best thing you can do, stop reacting in that moment, take a step back from the situation, realize where that person is coming from, what happened to you, understand the lesson that you're learning in that moment, and understanding, taking a step back from that particular moment and being more objective about it will help you realize and see exactly why that situation happened to you in the first place. Literally, once again, I think I said it before, that knowledge will set you free. Knowledge is liberating, right? The more and more you're in reaction, the less you are in pure knowledge. The more you're in reaction, the more you're in your own illusion of a reality, right? The less and less you react and the more you're just objective, the more you start to realize that, oh my goodness, this happened for a reason because this is a lesson that I needed to learn.
So with that lesson, how long can it take to learn that lesson? Is that all dependent on the ego?
It's totally dependent on the ego and how fast it's going to take you to let that go, really. But as I mentioned before, you cannot let that go unless you feel it first. If you do not feel those emotions in that moment and give yourself that time to just be sad, to just be heartbroken, to just let it go and feel and be vulnerable, essentially. If you don't give yourself that time, then those emotions are going to haunt you and weigh you down for a very long time. So if you go, it's almost like ripping off a Band-Aid. You could rip it off all at once, and it's really painful in that split second, but it's done. Or slowly but surely, piece by piece, you can rip off that Band-Aid. It's going to hurt a little bit every time, but it's going to take a lot longer to actually take that off and start a new scab, a new life, a new cycle. So it is totally dependent on that individual person.
And with that individuality, I guess that would be the equivalent of free will.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's totally up to every single person whether they want to stop that cycle, feel those emotions, let go of that lesson, or if they want to perpetuate it in relationship after relationship. Totally up to each individual person.
But for a lot of people, heartbreak is like death. It's like something has died inside of them. And how do you be thankful for that?
Well, I mean, it depends on the person, right? Like, for me, this is just who I am because I understand the laws of the universe. I could literally have the most precious thing in my entire life and have that precious thing be taken away. And I'm going to be okay with it because I understand the law of, letting things go and the law of impermanence, and I understand that thing left my reality for a reason. And I actually test the universe in these ways, and I'll just leave my purse or my wallet semi unattended. And, my boyfriend will always be like, oh, well, you have to hang on to that, or you have to make sure it's safe. And I said, look, if this wasn't meant to be in my life, then it's going to go away from my life. And that's clearly a lesson that I need to learn. But because I'm not attached to that thing, because it's not really a lesson that I'm going to learn, I know for a fact that purse is going to be there, in an hour or what have you, right? So I'm always kind of testing the universe and testing my own attachment as well, in that way. So once again, it really does come down to that individual person.
And I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are just up against a break here. The first Tuesday of the month, we always have Elizabeth April come in for our feature, The Spiritual You. And Elizabeth will be with us for one more hour before Elizabeth Anglin hops in for hour number 3. We're going to see what she's doing this weekend at hour number 3. It's all EA tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We'll be back right after this.
365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spacedoutradio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spacedoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over Spaced Out Radio Night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, this is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4-Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Had a run-in with ghosts, maybe Bigfoot, or seen lights in the sky? Hi, I'm Mike Schmidt from the SOR Sightlines. I'm here to investigate your sighting. Head to spacedoutradio.com and fill out a report on the Sightlines. All your information is 100% confidential, and I will help you figure out what you've been seeing. File your report and let's find out the answers together.
Psychic Sundays, spiritual communication, ET contact, Sasquatch in your backyard. We will have it all on Cosmic Passport with me, Elizabeth Anglin. Each Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, at spacedoutradio.com, I will take you on a journey of enlightenment. The goal is learning from the soul on out. We'd love it if you joined our experience. Cosmic Passport, heard Sundays at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you'd like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest, from Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
Welcome to Spaced Out Saturdays with me, Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange. Our weekly feature on spacedoutradio.com will take you around the world discussing everything from the paranormal to the latest conspiracies from the top guests in their fields. We won't leave any story uncovered. Spaced Out Saturdays at spacedoutradio.com, starting 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Hope you like the new commercials that we did. I worked all weekend on those. Tomorrow night on the program, Albert Jack is going to join us all the way from the UK. We're talking about the hidden stories behind nursery rhymes, the paranormal, the dark side of it all. It's going to be a fun show indeed. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, 5 a.m. in the UK, 2 p.m. in Australia. It's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow night at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. Great to have you with us as well. We're live on KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ungulates. Ungulates is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you could do so like Goddess Michelle, Sailor Twift, and more by using hashtag SpacedOutRadio. You can give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also follow me on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Listen to us on iHeartRadio in the U.S. Tune in, iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Buy something at our store, a shirt, posters, stickers. You can also read up on the Encounter All 9, Rock to Bumblefoot, and so much more. SpaceOutRadio.com. Tonight, The Spiritual You with Elizabeth April. It happens the first Tuesday of every month. Elizabeth, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Dave, for having me.
No problem. I have a question, as we're going to shift gears here a little bit from where we were in the first hour, dealing with spirituality and relationships. Robin has a question for you. And his question is, can anyone awake their sixth sense or third eye because everyone has those deja vu moments?
Great question. Yeah, absolutely. It's totally possible for you to awaken, your sixth sense and your third eye. So, it's not just hindering on the fact that everyone has deja vu, but deja vu is a great example of what we can tap into with those limitless resources. So yeah, 100%. I believe that everyone has the ability, the capacity to tap into your own psychic abilities.
So what do you think deja vu really is?
Okay, yeah. So I do have a YouTube video on this. It's called Deja Vu, Deja Vu. And really what it comes down to is simultaneous time. And I have another video on that as well. And so it really just comes down to the fact that time does not exist in a linear fashion. And when we are in moments of lucid time, sometimes it's meditating, sometimes it's astral traveling, but mostly it's in dream state. That's why most people don't actually remember the first time they saw that vision. So all deja vu is the fact that you saw that exact moment, that exact conversation, that exact street, in that moment for a reason. And you saw that could be a couple days ago, could be weeks ago, could be years ago. And so you're just living through that moment. It's actually quite surprising because we have deja vu moments all the time where we just don't remember them. So we actually see moments of the future in our dreams and meditative states all the time, but half of us don't actually remember them, and then the other half of us don't actually live through those moments. So we could have a lot more deja vus, but it really depends on what path we choose for ourselves.
I hate when it happens. I actually had it happen on air just a week ago. When we had, actually it was a week ago tonight, when Lori Williams was on the show talking remote viewing. Be damned if I could remember it, what it was, but I remember just sitting here and having that same conversation, and it just hit me. What do you think is the result of that? Are we actually looking into the future when this happens, or are we just recalling maybe a previous memory? What causes it in your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is recalling a previous memory of the future vision. So, because I'm mostly conscious of my dreams and my meditative states, I'll see future visions all the time. And then, a week later, a couple months later, I'll actually walk through and live through that vision. And some of them are pretty cool. I'll see people that I never even knew existed, years in the future. And then all of a sudden I'll meet that person and say, wow, I saw you in one of my visions, 3 years ago, right? So I'm aware of the first vision that I get, and I'm aware of the second vision, which is the actual deja vu moment. Wait a second. I've done this before, or I've had this conversation before. Whereas the majority of the population out there is only actually aware of the second vision, which is them walking through the same moment that they saw prior to that moment. So I'm aware of both sides of it. So I'm aware of when it happens or when it will happen, and then I live through that happening. And then most people are just aware of the second time they actually walk through that moment rather than seeing it for the first time.
Let's get to more audience questions here. Sita is asking, could you tell me where I could find my soul family and where they're from?
Okay, very interesting. So let's just take a look here. Soul family, and your name is Sita. 1 second.
I honestly don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, and I apologize. It's C-I-T-T-A. So it could be Cheetah, Sita.
Sita, yeah. Okay, Sita. 1 second. Okay, great, yeah. So I'm actually receiving a species here. You're talking about soul family. Mainly I look at interdimensional guides when I take a look at this. I actually do see a very predominant soul family around you. I'll also mention that they aren't the only interdimensional species around you, but they are definitely the most predominant one. And the species that you are most connected to are called the Andromedans. They kind of look human, but they're also very galactic looking. Like they're very almost like etheric being looking. They're very pale, almost like pure white light, and they're around you, and they're talking about something that we were speaking about earlier, which is self-love and self-healing. And they're saying, Sita, that you're kind of in the mix of this self-healing at this current time. And so they just want to validate, keep giving back to yourself. Try not to let others bring you down. And this is your time to really move forward with life as well. So just like a validation there for you.
Let's move on to the next question. This comes from Kelly. And Kelly is one of my students as I'm helping her open up. And she is asking, how can one have their third eye open but crown closed?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, every chakra resonates at a different frequency. So it's completely possible to have, your throat closed, but your heart open, there is really no difference. Now crown, I find to be more so past lifetimes and connection to source energy. That is your crown chakra. And then the third eye, I find more so intuition, insights beyond, visions, things like that. So they actually function very, very differently, even though they both resonate at a higher frequency. So totally possible there. And there's a variety of reasons why one would be closed and one would be open. Just similar to there'd be a variety of reasons why your heart would be open and your solar plexus would be closed. There's infinite amounts of reasons kind of describing that and where that would come from.
Let's get to Peter's question, and it's a little bit of a smart-ass question here. Mm-hmm. Elizabeth, was Dave a gnome in a past life? and so help me if you say it. Peter, I'm shaking my fist at you right now, shaking my fist at you for getting this whole gnome thing started now. Now I'm going to be pestered and hammered by pictures and comments. It's terrible.
Okay, let's take a look. Let's see if... Okay, it's funny because your guides are kind of chuckling here. I guess they're in on the inside joke, but they're saying that no, that is not a past life that is around you.
Woo! Woo! Yes! Still shaking my fist at you, Peter. Still shaking my fist, but I win on this one. I win. Yes. Thank you. Let's get to Tessa's question. How do you strengthen your bond or ability to communicate with your guides?
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, once again, there is an infinite and variety of ways that you can strengthen your bond with your own intuitive connection. What I find is the easiest and the best is quieting your mind. Once again, the only thing holding you back or getting in the way of pure, infinite, and divine connection is yourself. It's your own ego at the end of the day. Now, in my own life, I spent a full 2 years. Now, once again, I know I'm quite young, but I spent 2 years trying to kill my ego. That's right. I tried to squash it altogether, only to realize after so much internal struggle, fight, and battle that there is no such thing as killing your own ego. If you're going to kill your ego, you're killing your human, and that's just not really what I was wanting to do. So I really had to learn, once again, how to work with my mind, work with my ego, but also simultaneously work with consciousness and pure and divine source. So what I recommend is doing things that allow you to quiet your mind more. For me, art, paint on a canvas, allows me to completely quiet my mind. For other people, it's running or jogging or yoga. Sometimes it's light stretching at the end of the day. Sometimes it's meditation, if that resonates with you. But things that pretty much anything you can do to quiet your own mind is what's really, truly what's going to bring you closer and closer to consciousness and pure source information. Now, other things are like crystals are really great. They really help channeling and channeling abilities. And I would say, apart from crystals and quieting your own mind, the biggest thing that I could recommend to absolutely everyone would be to cut meat out of your diet. And
Shame on you. I will not give up bacon, vegan.
I was going to say, this might ruffle some feathers, but this is the number one cause of lower vibrational frequency that I find in society. Sorry to say it, but I mean, obviously, alcohol is another leading cause of lower vibrational frequency. And who puts out things like, alcohol and meat is the big companies who want to suppress and control you. So just kind of, that's it. Once again, ruffling some feathers. But I'm no activist, I'm not here to push you in any sort of way or judge you in any sort of way either. I'm just here to state the information as objectively as possible. If you want to open up and expand and awaken your energy, cut meat out of your diet, start getting into crystals, and and quiet your mind.
I'm not giving up bacon. Damn you. Bacon is a staple of Canadian life. You should know this. Like maple syrup in hockey and beavers swimming around ponds.
Well, you know what? In that case, if you love bacon so much, then you shouldn't have any pets or love animals either, because pigs are just the cutest little animals. They've got such an intellect to them. So, it's kind of like a catch-22 to love animals and simultaneously eat them. It can be mind-blowing.
Oh. Disagree.
Uh-oh.
Disagree. Every pig out there that has become bacon in my mouth is proud to be sacrificing themselves for humankind. But we could get into that debate at a different time, vegan. But that's okay. All right, let's get to Corey's question. Can you ask, if you don't mind, and Corey's like a sister to me. I love her to death. She's like my big sister, who I call my little sister for some reason. She says, can you ask Elizabeth, is my soul family from Sirius?
Ooh, okay. Okay, beautiful. Okay, yes, absolutely. Corey, I see Sirius very close to you. And then and there's another constellation that's coming up here, and it's Orion. And apparently what I'm receiving from your guides is that they do have a very similar vibrational frequency. So for whatever reason, Sirius and Orion seem to be connected. So just kind of being aware of that and maybe doing your own research on that as well.
Yes. And an SOR hot tub party with beer, Corey. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for my phone to ring. So I'm available Saturday night, just so you know. Anyways, Catherine is asking a very important question around these parts. She is asking, is Carl the alien still on schedule for this fall, for his return?
Oh, okay. Let's take a look. Okay, and then I'm just being called to ask, when was the last time Carl the alien showed up?
April 20th, 2015, about 10:17 p.m. Pacific.
Okay, let's take a look.
I can't be more specific than that.
Interesting. Okay. So yes, it seems like he's making, making a plan to come around again. He's saying that it's going to happen when you least expect it, because it seems like he's a bit of a jokester. So he likes to just kind of, I don't want to say necessarily like mess with you, but he definitely likes to surprise. So just kind of being aware that yes, it does look like he's going to be coming around as well. It's just like, at a time that you're going to least expect it, I guess.
Of course.
Yeah.
Do I get to meet him face to face?
Oh,
and not just a startling thing where he disappears quickly. I have been praying for it, putting it out to the universe. I want that face to face. I want him to take me for a ride.
Okay, let's take a look. Okay, he's saying that he's going to work you up to it first. And he's actually talking about meeting you in the astral realm. And so I think he's talking about like dreams or meditation, or like, I don't know if it's like consciously or semi-consciously, but like it's going to be like him opening you up to that first. And then there's going to be, yes, absolutely. I can say that eventually there's going to be that full one-to-one conversation, but that might not be for a little while.
Damn it, that little while. As long as he comes back, because he owes me. He owes me some serious time and a trip.
Yep.
He owes me. I love Sailor's snarky question here at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. If meat is bad, why do the space aliens steal cows?
That is kind of funny. They definitely don't eat cows, though. I will validate that.
Come on, even they must like a good steak. Nice cut, a nice cut of ribeye.
No, they definitely do not. Good try, though. Good try.
Catherine, we'll get to your second question here momentarily. By the way, she is asking in regards to Carl, because on one of our logos we put a bow tie on him. I found an alien picture that looks almost like Carl. I'll actually tweet it to you right now as I'm saying this. But she drew a bow tie on him. I asked for a bow tie. Would Carl like a bow tie? I think that's important.
Okay, let's take a look here. Okay, great. He says he's actually quite humorous, and he's like, if you're going to put a bow tie on me, you might as well put a top hat on me too.
Do you have your Twitter open right now?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I just sent a picture that looks very much like Carl to you.
Okay.
So you can go to you can go to hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Now, the only difference between Carl and this guy is that there's no line down his forehead going up. Like, it's more of a flat surface. But everything else there, the cheekbones, the eyebrow bones, the way the eyes are shaped, the mouth is shaped, that's Carl.
Yep. He doesn't look as serious as, this guy in the picture when I see him. This guy looks really serious, but Carl's he's a pretty lighthearted guy.
Yeah, except he keeps standing me up. Does he know it pisses me off?
Oh, I think he's aware of that. He likes to play with you. He likes to toy with you a little bit.
Yeah. I'm gonna give him a good shaking when, that's what I'm going to do. Grab him. Carl, where are you, you bastard? Where have you been? So, I don't know. We'll get to that. Robin is asking in the SOR Space Travelers Club, are your ancestors always around you or looking after you?
Okay, that's interesting. It really depends. Like, for me, my ancestors, based on this lifetime, don't really have a big influence or impact on me. So therefore, they're not really around someone like me. But for other people who really, like, they pray to their ancestors and they bring in their ancestors' energy all the time, absolutely 110% your ancestors are around you. If you're calling in their vibration and their energy, they're around and they're helping you out. It's all about your intentions and what you're putting out there and what you're calling in. And for me, ancestors, not a big deal. For a lot of other people, their ancestors are really important to them, and they are absolutely around. Like, for someone like me, I've got more spirit guides than I would say ancestors. But once again, everyone is a little bit different in the energies, the vibrations, and who they have around.
Let's get to Catherine's question. Who did I see in my apartment last night in spiritual form?
Okay, let's take a look, Catherine. 1 second. Interesting. Okay, so it looks like there's actually a couple of different energies and beings that are around you, Catherine. There is one that's stepping up here, and it's a very mysterious individual. It definitely is an individual. I want to say it's a female, and I see this female in a huge, like, hooded cloak, and I don't really see what she looks like, but she feels very, like, I don't know if I want to call her Palladian, but she looks very human. She does look very Palladian, and it does look like one of your spirit guides. But once again, there's a very, like, mysterious mystique to this woman, this lady, and it looked like she was in your living room last night. But once again, there's another being that's around you as well, not showing themselves at all, who's also around you. Now, once again, these figures are quite mysterious, but they don't seem dark. So even if they come to you as like a dark shadow or what have you, just know that they're not there to harm you. And I think that you already kind of feel that vibe too. So I'm hoping that, you feel that, you're safe and protected around them as well.
Milo has a question. He says, things I heard on SOR led me to ask for help from spirit guides. Since then, I notice ringing in one ear. One ear, pardon me. I notice 1111, even found an oddly placed feather. Are these signs, or is it my mind subconsciously seeking it?
Oh, absolutely. So this is a really good question, because this is the biggest question that everyone asks themselves right when they get into spirituality. Am I making this up, or is this actually happening? And I just have to validate that, yes, absolutely, 110%, that is actually happening. And I like to call it divine synchronicity. I mean, you're experiencing all of that and creating it and bringing it into your reality for a reason. Is that reason totally known in that moment? Maybe not. But it is really important for you to be aware that, you're attracting those things because you are absolutely in divine alignment. And it's also great that you bring this up, because everyone needs to realize that even if you put the call out there to your spirit guides and it's just a one-way conversation at first, you're still bringing in their vibration and their energy. And whether it be through dimes or feathers or 1111 or, whatever the divine synchronicity is, those are all messages from your guides to you on this physical plane.
Our resident preacher, Eric Markham, is asking, do I have any guides, and who are they?
Okay, great. And his name is Eric?
Yeah, we call him preacher around these parts.
Okay, cool. Let's take a look. Okay. So coming through very clearly here is this giant Anunnaki being. If you don't know who the Anunnaki is, please check it out. I think, Eric, this is really going to resonate with you. It seems like there's a lot of ancient ties here with you and Egypt. And so the Anunnaki are pretty much like 30 to 40 feet tall humans. They're giant humans. And you were connected to them. And these Anunnaki beings brought math, they brought science, they brought astronomy, they brought physics, they brought sacred geometry. They brought all of these very logical, very analytical concepts and pieces of information to humanity. And it seems like you, Eric, are a very logical and analytical person yourself. And it seems like, it can be very easy for you to piece together pieces of the puzzle. But that being said, it's also really important for you to look at the pieces of the puzzle objectively as well and understand that, maybe you're not always looking at the right information. So be aware of the information that you are gathering, whether it be on this physical plane or off of this physical plane. But it seems like the more and more you get closely connected to your Anunnaki spirit guides, the more and more you get closely connected to who you really are as well.
Very nice. Very nice answer on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Believe is asking, when will my oh my goodness, I'm tongue-tied here. When will my extra-dimensional soul family make contact again? And so you think I'll be less terrified this time?
Okay, great. And then what was the first name on that again?
Believe.
Okay, let's take a look here. Okay. It's really interesting because I see this interdimensional soul family you speak of. It's like they're so close to you and you're unable to see them. And they said, so I asked them straight up, I said, okay, well, when are you going to visit him again? Or her, I'm not sure, but I feel a masculine energy. And they told me soon. That's the clearest message that I got from them was, I said, okay, well, when are you going to visit again? And they just told me straight up, it's going to be soon. And then they showed me how close they were to your vibration and your energy. And wow, are they ever close? So it could really happen at any time. And then you're also asking, am I going to be scared? Or as scared as I was the first time? And I do want to validate that, no, I don't think that you're going to be as scared as you were the first time. It's all about, kind of opening your mind up to these things and then easing yourself into them. And then eventually, the next time, it's not going to be as dramatic or intense or scary because you've already been there, which is so beautiful. So yeah, so absolutely, that's coming to you soon. Do I have a timeline? No, unfortunately not. But just know that is on its way to you, is that experience.
All right, this one comes from Kelly. And she is asking, what is my soul family or anything else that can help me?
Okay, great. And this is Kelly, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Beautiful. Okay, Kelly. Okay, great. You have a lot of angels around you. So regardless of religion, angels do exist. I call them angelic beings. They come from the 11th dimension. You have this angelic family around you. There's 3 of them, actually. They're saying that they are a future lifetime of yours. And I asked them for a significant message to you in this moment. And they told me that they're teaching you right now how to be soft. And it seems like it's almost like a chip that's been on your shoulder, Kelly. And I don't know if you've been aware of it, but you're really starting to step into your femininity and be okay with being vulnerable and, having that divine intuition and empathic, skill set. And you're really starting to embrace that. And these angels are around you for that reason. And they're also saying self-love and self-healing is also something that they're around you for as well. So once again, kind of being aware of that, of, why they're around you and the fact that they are always around you so that you never truly have to feel alone.
Let's get to Gloria's question here. And I love this question. I really do. She is asking, do my baby animals understand me when I talk to them and tell them that I love them? Their eyes are so expressive.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, let's take a look here. Yes, absolutely. Big confirmation here. Your guides are saying that they are living, and they do understand that vibration, that energy, that love and compassion that you put out and you have for them. They recognize that, they understand that, and they're sending that love right back. And I think that you can feel that as well, the love that they're sending back to you. So just be aware that, they're totally aware of that. They are there with you, and totally sending that divine love and healing back.
All right. Tess wants to know, who is in my home?
Okay, interesting. Let's take a look, Tess. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So you ask who is in my home. You've actually got quite a crowd going on in your home. First of all, I did see animals, and I want to say that there are multiple, and I want to say that they're like more so the size of like cats and dogs. So if you ever feel like there's like crowding around your feet or anything like that, that's coming from them. There is also, it looks like an older man who's around you, and I want to say he's directly connected to you. So maybe he is a grandfather or a father on your side, maybe someone who lives with you. And very kind soul, like this older soul is very kind. And then there's another soul spirit who's in your home as well. Once again, this is human, this is earthbound. And this spirit looks like, almost like a middle-aged man. And he's quite I guess for lack of a better word, like quite an angry individual. And anytime that you're feeling like, your guides are calling it like a heat wave wash over you. Anytime you're feeling like that heat wave or that hot flash, or like you get angry or reactive and you don't know where that's coming from, it's coming from this angry middle-aged man who, it's almost like I see this man punching holes in the wall. And I don't know, it seems like he's just stuck there. So what I would recommend is doing a little ceremony, burning a candle, burning a ton of sage, going through your entire home and saying that it's okay to leave, it's okay to release, it's okay to move forward and move on. And that's going to really help that soul, that spirit cross over.
Excellent. Let's get to Robin's question in the SOR Space Travelers Club. My house is made in the 1920s. These walls can probably talk. A couple years ago, when my bedroom was still in the basement, I had my best friend Scott over. I was walking down the stairs. This evil entity came at me from behind when I was almost at the bottom of the basement. I didn't get hurt, just really scared. What would that be?
Okay, and then how long ago was that?
Recently, I guess.
Recently, okay. Let's take a look here. Okay, so your guides are confirming here that this entity, so this is actually a positive confirmation, because it doesn't seem like this entity was specifically attacking you, even though you were there to be attacked. It looks like someone brought this energy in. And trust me when I say that this person, whoever brought this energy in, had no idea that there was like a darker entity attached to them. They could have picked it up from the street or from someone else. So it just seems like, this entity followed someone in, it saw the perfect opportunity to bring a higher vibrational energy down. And that's exactly what happened. So the best thing about this is that I don't really see this entity still lingering. I don't see that this is a personalized attack to bring you down, even though it was in your predestined contracts. But honestly, I don't really see it as being like something that you need to be concerned with or worried about moving forward.
Peter is asking, I see a lot of energies following me. How do I know if they're extraterrestrial or not?
Okay, interesting. To be honest, it depends on the individual person. It depends on how you channel information. So when I see vibrations around people, I see color around people. The second that I see golden vibration, I know that that's interdimensional energy. So that's how I visualize interdimensional energy, but I can't tell you that that's exactly what you're going to see as well. Everyone sees this energy in different ways. So it's kind of hard to say there, but all you have to do is ask, right? So you can ask, your spirit guides, ask your own self, is this energy interdimensional or is this energy earthbound? And right away, you're going to get a feeling for what that energy is and even why that energy is in your life.
Let's get to one of our newer listeners, Alan, who's taking part in the Spreaker chat room. And thank you, Alan, for doing that. Really do appreciate that and sharing our tweets on Twitter. I really do. Thank you. And he is asking Elizabeth for some advice on how to turn his intuitive reception of others' pain and sorrow. Turn off, pardon me.
Okay, great. Okay, yes. Oh, good, okay. Actually, and this is something that I wanted to mention with the last question and the entity. And really all it comes down to is protection. And that's what I have to mention with, this individual asking about, how do you turn off that empathetic, filter? How do you turn off the fact that you're feeling everything all the time? And what you really need to do is just put up this wall of cloaking. Put up this wall of pure white light energy and put it out there that for the highest good of all involved, nothing of a lower vibration can enter or break through that wall. And what I like to do myself anyway, and you can take it or leave it, but what I like to do myself with not taking on too much is actually putting up this egg-shaped shell around myself. And it actually looks like a reflective mirror. So anything that anyone is feeling, anything that's going on around me, I'll put up this wall, this reflective mirror, and anything that they bring to me, anything that's going on in that person's life, I don't take that on. I just reflect it right back at them, so that they can better understand where they are, in their own life, right? So I just try and help that person out by allowing them to understand, where they're at and what they're feeling.
Catherine has a question. Elizabeth, what's your favorite thing to teach people?
Oh, great question, Catherine. That is a tough one. I mean, the information is so vast and so infinite. Okay, great. It just came to me. My absolute favorite thing to teach people is about their own empowerment. And, and it's funny because what else is coming to me here is that my favorite thing to teach people, it changes pretty much on a yearly basis. And the reason being is because my favorite thing to teach people is right in alignment with what exactly people need to hear in that moment. So I won't teach anyone or have the passion to teach anyone anything that isn't in divine alignment with humanity's awakening. So recently, in this past year, my absolute favorite thing to teach people is reinventing your reality. That's my favorite thing to teach people, is saying, hey, it's not me who has all the answers. It's actually you who has all the answers within yourself. And that being said, you can actually make that conscious decision to choose any reality that you want to live in that moment. And I mean, that takes the pressure, the responsibility, the weight off my shoulders, and it simultaneously empowers that individual to know exactly who they are, where they're going, and what they want in life.
Let's get to Milo's question here. Have you ever read anybody that had incredible energy, either dark or light, somebody that just jumped out different from the masses? Why were they like that?
Okay, yeah. Oh my goodness, have I ever? I mean, I have a lot of clients, right, who come to me, on a monthly basis. And I also have, I go to a lot of alien expos and conferences and events, and I do a lot of public speaking. So I meet a lot of people. And I've definitely met the ones that really pop out at me. Half the people that I meet that pop out at me have no idea how interdimensional and powerful they are, but I can see that within them. And then the other half the people are, for lack of a better word, just weird. They would pop out to anyone. But for me, it's like they could be diagnosed as schizophrenic or psychotic or crazy or, once again, weird. And yet, to me, they are so divinely special and powerful and, full of this enlightening, and they don't even realize it themselves. And those are my most favorite people that pop out at me, because I get to tell them, what I see in them. I get to tell them, what society has never told them in their entire lives. I get to validate for them that they are indeed special and they are indeed here for a reason. And and it's, I that's part of the reason why I love my job so much, is because there is no weird in my life. Anyone can tell me anything, and I'm open to it, which is so beautiful. And I'm glad that you asked that question.
Oh, you're a weirdo. You are a weirdo. I'm a weirdo. Anybody in this field is just a weirdo.
Yeah.
Let's get to Elizabeth's question, and Liz will be on next hour. She is asking, I am interested in someone who feels he has bad luck in relationships because he has bad karma. Does he?
Okay. So I usually like to ask, what that person's first name is. But I think just tapping into your energy, Elizabeth, I can really take a look here. So let's take a look. 1 second. Okay, his guides are being really funny here, and I know that this is not the answer that he probably or you probably want to hear, but okay. So the short answer here is yes, absolutely, he's got bad karma. But the long answer here is the fact that, he's got this bad karma, but he's perpetuating this victim mentality and saying, oh, woe is me, I'm a victim, or I have this bad karma, therefore I can never surpass it. And he's perpetuating this old narrative of never being able to take his power back because he's always giving his power away to the fact that karma exists and karma is against him. So his guides are kind of, being kind of coy here. They're kind of laughing, kind of making fun of him and saying, look, yeah, you've got bad karma, but if you continue to believe that you have bad karma without doing anything about it, then you're going to continue to perpetuate the fact that you have bad luck based on bad karma. So hopefully that's, hopefully he's lighthearted enough to laugh at that, understand it, and start to really take his power back and change things in his life as well.
Here's a weird one from Gloria. And she is asking, after my daughter was born, my doctor told me I had a previous child. She is my only child. Doc said that previous miscarriages did not account for the changes that she observed. She could not explain it. How could it be?
Interesting. And then what is this person's first name again?
Gloria.
Gloria. Okay, let's take a look, Gloria. That's really interesting. Interesting. Okay, so yes, I can validate that on a physical level, and I would also say energetic level. It seems like your body was preparing for a child to come through. So I don't know what it was, if there was some sort of
Aliens. I'm answering that one. Gloria, welcome to the club of alien abduction.
That's funny. Yeah. So I don't know. Yes, absolutely. There was definitely something weird going on there, something very abnormal. And I can validate that. Yeah, I mean, your doctor was seeing something that did indeed happen. And it was kind of miraculous. But of course, that child never came to term, to full term, I guess. And yeah, so very interesting.
Do you think maybe Gloria and Carl had a little thing going?
Hey, I wouldn't put it past Carl. He can be a frisky little guy.
Yes. Gloria, were you and Carl dating? Well, let's be honest here. I need an update in the SOR Space Travelers if you and Carl had a little thing going. Now let me know. I'm sure she's blushing right now. Anyways, Tessa, sorry. My daughter Nova, hi Nova, if you're listening, how are you? My daughter Nova would like to know if there is a little girl here or if it is of a darker nature appearing to her as the girl.
Okay, great question. Let's take a look here. Interesting. Okay, so yes, I see the little girl around her, and I have to validate, and I'm so glad that you brought this up, it's not a dark entity, actually. It is indeed, I would say, like an innocent little girl, and she's around your daughter, and it seems like they have past life connections there together, And it looks like she was a sister of your daughter's in a past lifetime as well, which is pretty cool. So just kind of being aware of that. Looks like that little girl is all positive vibes, and there's a lot that they can learn from each other, actually.
Awesome. And Gloria is giving me crap right now. I don't do Carl's. Behave, David. She called me David. I am officially in
David.
trouble. That's like my mother would say. Believe is asking, is Dave going to have more experiences with his gnomies? Really? Come on. Leave the gnomes alone. That's twice.
That's funny. Okay, and then I don't know what kind of previous experience you have with gnomes. But,
okay, I'll tell you. This is a story, okay? When I separated from my first wife, I rented a basement suite that was very close to my daughter's school so my daughter could walk over. And in order to get into my basement suite, I had to walk around the back of the house. But my daughter's bedroom was her bedroom window was on the side of the house. And the street lamp kind of lit up her bedroom window. And so our landlords, Mark and Rowie, beautiful people, still love them, still friends with them today. They had garden gnomes in their garden. Well, my daughter, who is very intuitive herself, would wake up in the middle of the night to tapping on her window. And if the light was coming in to her window, the odd times she would see the shadows of a pointy hat. And she'd be like, Dad, the garden gnomes are there. They're alive. And I'd be like, no, I don't like them. And then one time she actually saw out the window one of them running away. And she came rushing into my bedroom. I'm sleeping in your bed tonight, Daddy. And I'm like, okay. And so since then, they scare the crap out of me.
Okay.
And so, there's a couple things I fear in life. My former mother-in-law scares the crap out of me because she's still pissed off a house landed on her sister. Okay, gnomes and great white sharks. I can handle the rest. Except those three things.
That's so interesting. Okay, wait. So all of those experiences happened in your old house, or is that
a couple houses ago?
Okay. Let's take a look. Let's see if there's any. No. It's funny because it seems like the gnomes, or the let's call them elemental creatures, are connected to more so your daughter than they are you, which is a positive thing, I guess, in your eyes, right? Because they kind of freak you out.
Well, there was this time last year, my son and I were walking along the local lake. We were doing a little bit of geocaching, and I had him in his stroller because there were bear droppings along the path, and in case we saw a bear, at 3 years old, I didn't want to slow myself down with, having to carry him if we had to get out of there. And we came down this knoll, and I saw this little thing come walking up from the lakeside, because there's a little bit of an embankment down towards the lake, which was about 50, 60 feet below us. And he kind of walks on the trail, and he's only about 18 inches, 2 feet tall. And he stops, sees me and my son walking down. I see him. He's blurry. This is the weird thing. He was blurry. And he turned right around and dashed right back into the trees where he came from.
Okay. And then how long ago was that?
It's coming up a year.
Okay. Yep. Wow. Okay. You know what? They're just around you. I guess they just they gravitate towards you, or maybe they're just in the location, the area that you're in. But yeah, absolutely. That's very interesting. I don't see that that's going to be your main source of experience, though. So that's possible.
Oh no, I know they're coming back.
Yeah.
I know they're coming back. Let's try and squeeze in a couple more questions here. And I'm still getting ripped about Carl and Gloria having an affair. Soul is asking, I am from India. What guides, spirits, do you, Elizabeth, see around Soul? That's Soul the person. And what would their message be?
Okay, let's take a look, Soul. Interesting. Okay, so you have a lot of spirit guides around you, and I'm getting the word ancient. It seems like they're very ancient spirit guides, and there's actually one that's stepping in, and this is actually not necessarily a spirit guide, but one of your higher selves. So it looks like this, almost like an astral version of yourself, like this etheric, beautiful etheric body, and this higher self of yours is giving you the message of, pretty much the message is, it's time. And I asked, what is it time for? And this guide didn't necessarily give me what exactly, it's time for, which is really interesting. So once again, the message from your higher self is, it's time. It's almost like it's time to get moving. And I don't know what direction or what that necessarily means for you, but hopefully that resonates.
Mm-hmm. I want to quickly get 2 questions in because we got about 90 seconds left. Ron wants to know if his guides will make themselves known to him before he transitions over.
Oh, okay, Ron. Oh, okay. Yes. Your guides are saying that, yes, they will make themselves known to you. They're also saying, ask for what you want and you will receive it. And they're also mentioning September, October, November are all going to be really great months for you to attract that vibration and to kind of it might be visual, it might be just hearing something, but just kind of being aware that, yes, indeed, they are around you and they will be making themselves known.
And I want to sneak in Teresa's question here. She says, I feel so protected and loved from beyond, yet in the physical, not so much. But I'm okay with it because I know love and always share love and feel love. Is this a lesson or maybe a gift to share? And who is sharing this love? Guides, angels, ego?
Okay, great. Let's take a look here.
You got about 30 seconds.
Okay, yes. So your guides are validating that this is just kind of like a stepping stone for you in feeling love outside of yourself and then exactly attracting that love in your physical reality as well. And absolutely, it does seem like it's yourself giving you yourself that love and also your spirit guides giving you that love as well.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth April.
Thank you so much.
We will talk to you on September 5th. Right after the long weekend. Always a pleasure. Give us your website once again quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. ElizabethApril.com to book a session, and then my YouTube channel, Instagram, Twitter, all of that great stuff. It's just Elizabeth April, so you'll find me there.
Well, we will talk to you in 1 month's time. Elizabeth April comes on Spaced Out Radio the first Tuesday of every month. And once again, her next time she will be on to answer your spiritual questions as well will be Tuesday, September 5th. Her website, ElizabethApril.com. We love having her on here doing the Spiritual You segment. It's the only time we really delve into this during the month. I know a lot of you enjoy it, but Elizabeth Anglin will join me in hour number 3. Yes, it's back-to-back Elizabeths coming up on Spaced Out Radio. We'll be right back right after this break.
We're getting strange on Saturday nights. Hi there, this is Dave Cruz, and each Saturday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I will take you on a tour of the weird and obtuse on Spaced Out Saturdays, from aliens to Sasquatch and every tinfoil hat in between. We got you covered. Join us at spacedoutradio.com for Spaced Out Saturdays. See you there.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Sightlines is a place for you to find answers to your strange experiences. Hi there, this is Mike Schmidt. If you have had an encounter with ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, ETs, or anything else that doesn't make sense, head to spacedoutradio.com and file a Sightlines report. All information you give is 100% confidential, and I will personally help you find the answers you need. SOR Sightlines, your answers are a click away.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
A child grew up too fast, went running wild. Now we don't know who to pray to anymore.
Welcome back to the final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night, we get into the dark side of nursery rhymes and the paranormal. Albert Jack will join us from the UK tomorrow morning. Well, it'll be morning for him at 5 a.m. For us, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are also live on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and over 160 countries around the world. We are live on KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember, the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ungulates. Ungulates is your password. Yes, ungulates. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night, right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect with us live during the show. Jeff is, Skeptic is, Andrew is. They're all having fun. Go have some fun with them. You can also give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can find me on Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Tune us in on TuneIn. Listen to us on iHeartRadio in the U.S. You can download us on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month, read up on the encounter online, watch some videos from Contact TV or UFO Seekers, and so much more. Everything at spacedoutradio.com. Now, for the final hour, we bring in our other Elizabeth Anglin from Cosmic Passport. Elizabeth, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I know you're intuitive as well, and we're not really going to go down that road with you tonight. Well, we may later on, but I want to know how excited you are to be hosting the Sunday night show as we've changed up the weekends.
Well, I'm excited because I had been getting a lot of requests to do certain kinds of shows. So I'm happy to be on with the psychics and the people who are asking questions on Psychic Sundays, which will be twice a month. Excuse me, one sec. I'm also really excited to do an experiencer-themed show on another Sunday, and then the nerdy show.
It's a lot of fun because I think personally you're very, very talented in what you do. And, you know, a lot of times as we grow, you know, people move on, people move ahead and everything. You haven't really done your own 3-hour show yet. So is this a challenge for you to do this on Sundays?
Sure. It's like, what could happen in 3 hours? Well, let's see, we're human. But you know, it's good. You know, being human in public, where stuff happens, is good. It's good to have that sort of adrenaline rush. It's good to have that to look forward to every week. It's not the same old. There'll be different people there'll be different situations. There'll be different questions. There'll be different people in chat. So it keeps, I don't know, it'll keep me young. If it doesn't make my hair turn gray prematurely, it will keep me young. So I'm excited.
So what do you have plans for Cosmic Passport? Because with 3 hours, you have a lot of different genres that you could go. You could go the spiritual level. You're going to continue with Psychic Sundays every second Sunday. Do you know who you're going to be having on with you at that time?
Yes, I'm doing an interview tomorrow with a Druid witch from Yorkshire, who has recently been on the BBC One and in the Guardian newspaper, talking about the resurgence of Druid witches and household witches in the UK. And this is healing, this is doing herbalism and healing and intuition. It's not, okay, these are evil people, we need to do what King James says in demonology with them. It's simply going back to the old ways of taking care of your family and taking care of yourself. And so I will have Karen Hayhoe on, who is a Druid witch, on Psychic Sunday, and I'm going to have some astrologers on who are doing different forms of intuitive astrology, who have written some of their own work in the subject of astrology and intuition and how to do intuitive astrology readings for the first hour. And then we'll go into, so the first hour will be an intuitive, and then it will, and if the intuitive wants to stay, I suppose they can, but then we'll go into 2 mediums and a medium instead of 2 mediums and a large. So it'll be the same format as that. On another Sunday, I really want to do an interview with an experiencer who is writing, who is out, an alien experiencer, and then do an experiencer roundtable if we have time. And then on the other Sunday, I want to do a more nuts and bolts UFO researcher type of show, or nuts and bolts science, nuts and bolts, how can we do research differently or do research better. So, or just talking about what the research is that's actually published in academic papers and how that alludes to or doesn't allude to what we're seeing in the paranormal. So, I'm looking forward to it. And I think I'll trade off between the alien experiences and the Bigfoot experiencers, because there's a whole nother group of people who are doing Bigfoot communication, which is what I do. And I haven't talked enough to them yet. But I like the idea of bringing in community and hearing different voices talking back and forth, sort of like you're in a salon, like you're in a chat room, but people are on air. And the chat room can also ask questions as well. So I hope that's a good plan. What do you think, Dave?
I think it's great. The main thing is we want to keep the Sundays and Saturdays with Dave Cruz sounding a little bit different than what we do through the Monday through Friday show. And that's what I find very exciting about it. How will you put your own little shtick on your show to make it yours?
I don't know. That's a good question. Well, because I only like to deal with things that I personally know about. So, and I do know about quite a few paranormal things. Yeah, I hope that would, I'll have a lot to share, because there's a lot of, I'm old, I hate to tell you guys, I'm old, and I've been around for a long time, and I've seen a lot of things and done a lot of things. So the fact that if somebody is doing something that I think it's important for other people to know that's happened to me or I've been involved with in some way in the past 30 years, I'm going to do that, and really use the time as it's brainstorming. I think the difference will be, I want to be more about brainstorming. Not that we're not that we don't do that by including everybody in the chat, not that you don't do that, but brainstorming to me is important. Coming up with information that is rarely shared, that isn't necessarily in the mainstream, that isn't your typical quote-unquote expert who has a view, and that view they claim to be their own view, and they came up with it with their own research. Guess what? In my opinion, there's a whole base of people that are usually, a whole mound of people that are usually under any one main expert's view. And what I find happens too often is that expert goes off and says, well, this is my theory. Well, you got a whole mound of people underneath that who actually have experience with that theory. And I'd rather talk to them and have them come on about their experience than the expert who's saying, well, I did this. So I think more grassroots, more brainstorming, more, I'd like to hear from people if they know people who are perhaps overlooked or have very interesting things to say that aren't as in the mainstream, have not been doing the conferences as much. And it's not because I don't think that I can get those people to show up. It's because we've heard their information before. We've heard their shtick before. We've heard it again and again and again and again. But what is it based in? I'm a grassroots. I'm a grassroots experiencer. I want to talk to grassroots people and brainstorm.
And I got to get you used to using hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter as well.
Okay.
It's a snarky bunch over there. They are snarky. You just gotta go at them. You gotta go at them.
That's right. Yeah, I don't mean to. Dave is not to be all about Dave, but Dave is one of the most talented multitaskers on the radio that you will ever come across. And so, to get to your level, Dave, of being able to look at all the chat rooms and Twitter it's a challenge, but you know what? If you don't have a challenge, you just get old and you desiccate and you blow away. So I'm happy to have it.
The main thing is that we are going to improve on the communication with our weekend audience, and that's what I'm excited about.
Yes, we are.
So when you are doing your show and you bring on more of these grassroots type guests, are you talking experiencers or the experts who have investigated said experiencers?
I really want to talk to experiencers. I want to talk experiencer to experiencer. I want to toss back and forth that hot potato. Well, did this happen to you? Oh, yeah. And when did that happen? Because when that conversation gets going, there are other experiencer listeners who have had something happen that they've never been able to talk to anybody about, or they've never heard anybody else say it, that somebody else has had it happen to them. And it may be the simplest or just a simple unusual thing. For example, when I was at a UFO conference, I spoke about seeing a little silver ship, and I had never met anybody who had seen and had anything to do with a little silver UFO, like an egg-shaped UFO. And there was a guy who was a couple years younger than me who also had seen and had an experience with a little silver egg-shaped UFO. And he had never heard anybody who had had that experience. And the fact that he was able to connect with me and connect about this, it unlocked the key to a bunch of other information for him coming forward. And for experiencers and UFO experiencers, that's incredibly therapeutic, because it can be one little piece of significant information that is conscious, that once you turn the key and have a conversation with somebody who also has that conscious information, all the stuff around it begins to open up, and it's like, oh, I do remember this. Oh, I do remember what happened. But until it unlocks, what you're stuck with is a kind of disquiet or a kind of anxiety. And so my other hope is that the show will be very healing to experiencers who don't have, you live in the middle of nowhere. You don't have a support group. You didn't live in Boston near John Mack when your experiences started to happen. You're in the middle of nowhere. And so you don't have a reference of other people to talk to about what happened. So you can come into the chat room and you can ask questions and you can listen. And it will be, and my hope is that on the experiencer nights, it will be as if you are at support group and you're just listening to your people talk and tell you what they've been through, so you don't feel as lonely, and the things that you have some memory of are able to become unlocked and you can remember the rest.
When you have your guests on, will it be audience participation as well, or are you going to keep it to the chat rooms?
I think because I'm still learning about the system and Skype can be touchy, I think initially it'll be chat rooms, and we'll see after that about having people call in. But chat rooms do afford us that ability of saying, I do want to ask that question on air, or I don't want to ask that question on air, Whereas if you take a phone caller, they might ask a question that's inappropriate or rude. And I really think it's important that people feel safe and they feel protected and they feel that they're being respected and they feel like that nobody is here to make fun of them or just come, popping into the show as a toad or whatever you want to call that.
Liz, how important is it for you to get the message of the experiencer out, considering you're an experiencer as well?
It's my life work. When I was 10, I knew, my sister knew. My sister was an intuitive, but, we had a skeptical mother. And she wrote a short story that won an award. And the short story was about me. And it was about her knowing that I was going to be involved in a world-changing research. And that I was somebody who noticed things so deeply that I was going to find out something about reality that nobody had ever figured out before. And she was talking about the things that she saw me doing as a kid. I'd go out with my peanut butter bucket and I'd go and I'd take things out of the pond and I'd have all these little terrariums and aquariums and I'd just go out and watch all the cycles every day. And she put this in her short story, but she said, this person, my sister, is going to find out something. She's going to notice something about reality that nobody has ever noticed before. And I knew when I was 10, I was like, yeah, it's aliens. But I didn't know it would come from being an abductee. I thought I'm going to go into science and, I'll probably be an astronomer or a physicist or something. And, that's how that will happen. But no, it was being an abductee. And the research that we did was actual, high-class university-level research on abduction. So her prediction came true. Unfortunately, the world wasn't ready for it. But there are tons of experiencers who are ready for it, who are thirsting for it. And as we keep bringing information out and allowing people to remember and allowing people to be comfortable in their own bodies with their own lifetimes and their own experiences, we change the vibration of the world and we help the world, the outer world, become ready to understand and take nourishment out of this information versus just become fearful and want to hack up people energetically who are carrying this information and have this happen to them.
When people give that information, they're always looking for that safe zone, that safe place to tell about their own experiences. What can you do to help their safety?
Well, I will be having on people who have decided that it has been time for them to come out. There's a whole energetic of coming out about being an experiencer, where you change your resonance with yourself. You stop hacking up yourself. You stop disavowing yourself as you come out as an experiencer. So I hope to be a safe place for the group of people who lately have been coming out about their experiences. And I'm not somebody who is a snob to say, well, this is the only person who has ever had that experience. You know, some of the researchers will do that to make their research sound really important and special. But when you deal with, you know, just regular grassroots experiencers, you'll find hundreds of people who have the same very unusual sounding experience, but it's almost across the board. And so having that sort of understanding where it isn't going to be the kind of thing where you're going to be, if you are an experiencer, you're not going to be called out for sounding weird or unusual. I've heard a lot of stories. I've been through a lot of stuff. But also, if you've just recently come out, you've written a book, you're doing something else with your experiences, I hope this will be seen as the place to go, the place to bring that information forward to the people who really want to hear it and need to hear it. And it'll be, my hope is, a homecoming, a safe, nurturing, yes, we need to hear it, yes, we want to hear it, tell us situation.
Are there any topics that you're excited to get into that you haven't had an opportunity to do before?
Oh, Danny in the SOR chat room is going to freak out if he's still there. Well, you know, women experiencers have a lot of issues, like Gloria was potentially talking about.
Yes,
so.
I'm not going there because Gloria ripped me a new one in the SOR Space Travelers Club.
Well, you mentioned, you know.
Not my fault she was having an affair with Carl, the alien.
And Carl's such a trickster, you know. He might have looked down the timeline with his timeline looking machine and said, "Ooh, how could I mess with Dave? Oh, let me get with her." Sorry, Gloria, but no. You know, it's you know, there's things about, and I don't mean to put too fine a point on it. There are ways that male experiencers handle their experiences that are slightly different than the ways female experiencers handle their experiences and feel about them. And you know, I hope to have a place where, you know, I might have an all-guy experiencer night and then an all-female and an all-guy, if I can manage that. The other thing is, there are different types of experiences. So I'm going to be looking around to get some people who are more contactees. They've never been abducted. That was never part of what their experience is. And really delving into what it means to be a contactee versus an abductee. And then there are the multi-level experiencers who are abductees and contactees and near-death experiencers. And then there's information about how many times did the aliens save your life. You know, we don't talk about, researchers don't talk about that. And I think it's because they're afraid experiencers will think, oh, I can't die, the aliens will save me. But you know what? I've been saved a buttload of times by aliens. And so it's like, let's have that conversation. How many times should you have been dead already, but you're not? Because that's a fun conversation when you really get into it. And it's interesting, and it doesn't mean we're special or necessarily, but a lot of experiencers have had a lot of times when they should have been taken out of the world and they weren't, or they had a near-death experience and they were put back. So I'd love to talk about that, because as soon as that happens, then you get into the development of spirit mediumship. A lot of near-death experiencers just automatically, upon return, have spirit medium capabilities. They don't really need to be trained. So I want to talk about that for alien experiencers, and in terms of mediumship, it crosses those lines. Yeah.
I think it's going to be an important show, and it's going to attract a whole different audience than what we're used to. And adding to the fact, you being the token lady on our weeknight run, I'm excited to listen in. I really am, and I hope our audience is too.
Yeah, I hope you are. And, I do like to get nerdy. I like to hang out, the other night, not just experiences, but the other non-psychic night. I'm looking forward to being on with Eric and Everett as they are available to talk about really issues of how do we find proof of these things, what sounds like what we're talking about, and sort of a nerdy futurism. Where do you think we're going in 20 years and 30 years with Android girlfriends and boyfriends and, that sort of thing. So a sort of nerdy, futuristic, techie science, paranormal show with Everett and Eric and myself. We're going to be coming up with subjects. We're going to research those subjects, and we're going to fire away our opinions on them after we do.
Excellent. Especially, Preacher, because scientifically speaking, he's very smart. So I think he'll have a lot of fun with you during that show as well. Speaking of experiencers, and I want to go down this road with you for a moment here, because I think it's important leading up to Sunday's Cosmic Passport on Spaced Out Sundays, your new show with Elizabeth Anglin. Are you going to get into events with children, whether they are paranormal or extraterrestrial?
Why not? I have a question. Why do people not do that? Because I think we are human beings. We live in families, and how we treat our children, regardless of what they're going through, how open we are with our children, how present we are with what's going on with them, makes a big difference in how they grow and how they feel about themselves and how successful they can be later on in life and how adjusted they can be later on in life. So absolutely, we will be talking about children.
The reason why I ask is I'm working with a lady named Kelly right now who has two children, or three children under the age of 8. The two oldest ones are very, very connected to their gifts. The oldest one, though, her daughter, tends to play that against Mom. And Mom, being new to all of this, believes that she needs to become more mama bear rather than spiritualist. How do you teach a parent to react to children when it comes to the kids having their own experiences?
Some people are teachable and some people are not. I have recently had the experience in my own private practice of coming up against certain people who ought to know better, but once you point it out to them, they get highly defensive and stop listening. But if a parent is willing to listen to what has worked for others and listen to the whole, because there's a spiral energy of, well, it looks like this, and in some ways you're right, you are getting played. But the other thing that's happening with that, and sometimes when you're a psychic kid, you're not really being aware that you're being a psychic kid. And so on a case-by-case basis, it's like, okay, well, yeah, you have a superficial assessment of what's going on. And if you just go with that knee-jerk superficial assessment, your spiral path to an outcome is going to go someplace potentially you don't want it to, for both that child and for you over time. But if you're able to look deeper into what's going on with your child and deeper into, how that game is being unconsciously played, it's not like your child just figured out, I can really get Mom by being psychic this Tuesday at 11 o'clock in this way. Because that's not how it happens. It just happens as probably unconsciously the psychic kid is going, I don't have time for mom right now. I'm just going to, say, blah, 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 and so you have to look at the sort of how that mechanism works, how it works for each child, and then look deeper underneath for the sources of response instead of reaction to what's going on, and response out of understanding versus reaction out of superficial understanding, in order to get your spiral path to a resolution or to an outcome to be positive for both of you. And some people are willing to do that, and they're willing to think about a spiral path that gives me a brain cramp. But energetically, most intuitive information, especially if it's unconsciously done, and most of the reaction and or response ends up in the spiral path. It's not just a straight line from A to B. If I do this, then I'll get that, and I'll plug it in. Your kids are not machines. You're not machines. Spiritual information is definitely not linear. And so the fact that your kid is spouting it out, it's got a deeper meaning, and it's going to really zing you in a way that is going to probably require you to both look at yourself more deeply and look at your child more deeply. And that's a spiral path.
So in her situation, the one thing that I'm trying to, where she is struggling because she's just learning her own gifts and opening up. And she sees, especially her eldest daughter, being much more talented in that field. And Kelly doesn't really know what to do or say. Yet the child is now using that as almost sort of like a manipulation, that she can have over mom, even if she's using her imagination and it's not true spirit. So right. there is a dangerous game being played here, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and in that case, what the child needs to be taught is that you don't give unsolicited information. And you don't read where you're not asked to read. If you do it unconsciously, because it's just easier and you've learned to do it unconsciously, that's one thing. But using it as what I know is da-da-da-da-da-da, no, that doesn't get anywhere. That gets you nowhere fast, or it gets you bad places quickly. And adults will do that, not just children. I know adults who will do that, and they really need to be reined back in. It's like, no, that's not what you're using your gift for. So there has to be a different set of rules for psychic children and psychics who are doing it consciously. And one is no unsolicited readings, and two is not using information to manipulate others, and basically keep it to yourself if nobody asks for it. If mom didn't ask for it, guess what? Don't tell her. Unless you're going to crash into a pole or a bear's about to eat your head, if you don't say something, guess what? Sometimes the most important lesson is just not saying anything. I hate to say it.
Now, is it acknowledgement that can be the trouble? Is that what you're saying? Because the child, if they are having experiences, should be able to go to the parent and tell them what is going on.
Well, it depends on if you're being psychic or if you're, being psychic is one thing. Being psychic and being manipulative is one thing. Having an alien abduction experience or an alien contact experience is another thing. And you might be psychic and have both going on. So all of these situations require different responses, but they all require deeper than knee-jerk reaction responses. And they require understanding, and they require, and they also require self-reflection on the part of the parent. And the parent, after learning self-reflection, teaching the child how to do self-reflection.
So is it a matter then of the parent staying in the parental role first and then going into the spiritual role if necessary?
It's hand in hand. if you are a parent and you're having spiritual experiences and your child is having spiritual experiences, you are always the parent, but you are a better parent the more that you learn and understand what is going on with those spiritual experiences. So it's not about being, there's simple enforcement. People do enforcement of issues similarly or differently depending on who they are. But for example, just because spiritual information can be so to the point and so direct and can make people feel so reactive sometimes, that's where it's important to do both at the same time. Because if you get zinged by somebody who is pointing out a truth about you that you don't want to see, you're going to be parent on the rampage because you got zinged. And your part in this is to learn not to be reactive, to be able to say, ooh, you pointed out someplace I'm not healed. Guess what? I'm going to go work on healing that. And in the meantime, I'm going to say, a better way for you to point that out to me is not like that. Okay? It's like, but because parents want to go be enforcers when they get zinged. And it's like, no, don't be enforcers. Just say, hey, ooh, I'm zinged. Why? Because I'm not healed.
What if ET contact hits? Is it the same reaction?
It depends on what the contact is. If you have a teenager who's an abductee, for example, and they are not feeling well and they don't want to go to school, don't get upset with them because they may be just freaking tired out. An ET contact can be just as tiring in a different way. So I would say this, I was very lucky in that I had a father who knew I was an abductee even before the world knew what an abductee was. And there were days when we would he was a teacher and I went to the same high school he worked at. We'd get to school, he'd take one look at me, he'd hand me the truck keys and he'd say, get out of here, go drive around, or go home or go to sleep or do whatever you want to do. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, you're not, you have something you're working on, go work on it. And I'd go drive the truck across Michigan and go to the beach. I'd go to a lake. And it was the most healing thing that my father could do for me, not to become draconian about me having to show up at school every day. He'd go down to the office and he'd say, she's not in today, she's taking a mental health day, and I said so. Don't give her any guff. So if you have abductee kids or contactee kids and they're tired and you can tell when they get up in the morning and when something is not right, and you have the opportunity to give them something else to do but have to be in a classroom full of children when their energy field may be frayed, they may be vulnerable to energetic attack, they are trying to process what happened the night before, then do your best. Don't try to be the one who says, well, you have to go to school. You have to do this. Because abductees and young abductees need more time to process what has happened the night before than normal kids that don't have that experience.
So how do you help children gain control from that experience then?
Gain control of what?
Their emotions, the experience itself, the not understanding what is truly going on.
Well, it is under how much do you understand it and how much do they remember? A lot of it is, well, what do you remember? Well, how do you feel? Well, what would work best for you to make you comfortable? Control really comes down to, what do you want? Or what do you think would serve you the best? Asking that sort of open-ended question that empowers. What's going to help you most today? Something is not right. You are reactive. You are upset. You look tired. what do you feel is going to help you the most today? And even just asking that question empowers them to say, you know what? I think I just need to sleep another 3 hours and then I can get up and go to school. Instead of dictating, well, because of this is happening, I'm going to take control and I'm going to tell you that you have to do this. Ask an open-ended question. What do you think is going to help you the most today feel better? And that 9 times out of 10 will help anybody who's in a spiritual emergency. What do you think is going to help you? What do you want to do? Or, what can we set up here that you think will be helpful for you coming back to center, or coming back, or resting, or whatever? What do you feel you need the most?
Do you ever get tired of talking about these topics?
Do I sound like it?
No, I think it's an honest question. No, you don't sound like it, my dear. You don't sound like it at all. But in the end, when this is day in, day out your life, do you ever just want to shut it off and say, today's not going to be an abductee day or a psychic day?
Yeah, I have days like that. I call Tuesday. I always take a day off, and I have friends who are not psychics and not abductees. But actually, I find as time goes on, I prefer to hang out with people who are more sensitive. I prefer to hang out with more weirdos, people who have had something happen in their life and they don't have the walls. As time goes on, I prefer to just embrace the alternative and go with it. So it just becomes more of like, oh yeah, these are my people. This is my home. We're talking about what's happened in our lives and we're safe. It really comes down to where is home and where is safety. And it's with other people who have had similar experiences, and other people who are intuitive, and other people who see ghosts, and other people who see fairies, and you know that you're safe and that you're not having to be at all in any kind of closet, and then you can rest. That's less tiring because you can rest in that community of people.
Bill Cardwell wants to know if you are taking any questions from naked men in a hot tub tonight, and I'm sure I'm sure he's shriveling up quick.
I didn't want that Mind movie, Dave. Thanks.
That's all right.
Does he have a question?
No, he's just asking that question.
Yes, Bill Cardwell. Yes.
I think he just wanted a big mention, to be honest. He likes to give himself a big mention every now and again. But, when it comes to adult contactees, how are you able to tell the difference between what is a dream, Elizabeth, and what is actual contact?
Contact is usually more than once, and most of the time I psychically read it and go, well, that was a dream. But a lot of times there are a lot of contactees now who are when they go to sleep, being pulled out of their bodies and having astral contact. And I have worked for many years with one client who it's very obvious. She'll be like, okay, I had this really weird dream, but I think it was contact. And I'll go in and I'll look at it. I'll remote view it and look at it. And it's like, oh yeah, there'll be 3 aliens pulling her out of her body. And they're going off and taking to her ship and teaching something. She's not an abductee. She doesn't have any of the typical abductee issues of being tired, of being physically down, of maybe having pain they don't even know they have. But, and I've never seen her have a quote-unquote physical abduction, but 3 aliens will show up and take her out of her body and go teach her something on a ship. And that's really, remote viewing, learning to remote view really helps. I'm glad that I learned to remote view. I'm glad that I do intuitive work often, because I can go back to situations if somebody says to me, did something happen here? And usually anything with aliens has a lot of energy, and it has emotional energy, and it has, dynamic energy. Because it's got such a big energetic footprint, I can go back and I can look at it and go, oh yeah, that happened. there. So you might want to, think about how you want to process that. Because the people are trying to process it, and because they have a question about it, usually it means they're trying to process something that was happening at that time. And so it's nice. It's nice to remote view. I forget what your original question was, Dave.
Well, let's move on to the next question. Do you ever regret being a contactee?
Oh, I have regretted being an abductee. God. And I regretted having to be in the closet about it. And I regretted things that I did to my, especially one relationship. And yeah, I mean, I have this memory of being in a between lifetime place where I'm with two friends and we're tall white aliens. And I am saying to them, we have to go back. Let's go back to Earth. This is a time where we can get a lot done and it's going to change things for the better. Let's go back to Earth. Let's do this thing. It'll just be really quick. We'll take a quick trip back to Earth and get this project done. And so I've had that memory since I was a kid. And then as I'm going through the abduction information and processing my own stuff, I'm thinking, what the heck was I thinking? I thought this was going to be easy. I thought this was going to be quick. I thought I was going to be in control of this situation. I thought it was all going to work out a certain way. And in those times, that's when I'm having my deepest regret. It was like, what was I thinking? I totally regret making this decision. So, yeah, I do.
Do you regret the actions or not having control?
I regret the decision to do it. I think what's really important is to come to an understanding as an abductee. At some point, at some time, you made a decision, whether you like to think you did or not. And I'm going to say this pretty much 99% across the board because nothing is impossible. But most people in some way made a decision to be in the situation that they're in this lifetime, because life is a learning experience. It's a learning platform, and it's also a continuation of previous learning experiences. And so at some point you decided to drop in and have this learning experience, and the regret can really be that when you were not embodied, you thought it would be easy and you thought you would be able to handle it. And what a fool were you. Why did I choose this? That's the regret.
Have you ever, in any of your experiences, seen people having experiences that you know personally?
Yeah. I've seen my dad have experiences. I went back to my mother was abducted when I was in her womb. So I saw my mom. I've seen friends. I've been abducted with friends from high school. I have seen people switched off. I have floated through people on my way to a ship, which I don't know if they're having experiences, but they're turned off and I float through them, which is weird because then I really pick up their stuff. There are people that I meet that I have met in my life later who I know that I've met on a ship. I know that I've met in different learning experiences, and they know they've met me. So, yeah, I guess that's a yes.
What's that like when you recognize someone there?
Well, you have a group, so there's two different lives. A lot of times it's like you have two different lives, and you have the group that you are working with, and when you're in the contact or the abduction situation, you recognize them because you've been working with them, and so sometimes it's very, very fun depending on what you're doing, and other times it's just sort of like meh, I don't like this particular thing that we're doing. But they are by and large your friends. They're by and large your group, at least for that time period with whatever you're working on. But when you meet them on Earth, it's particularly interesting because their Earth selves are not always when they're on Earth the way they are when they're in an experience. And so you can make the mistake of thinking that you've met your long-lost soul buddy from the ship, and then you get going in an Earth relationship, and it's like, wait a minute, you aren't the way you are on a ship. Because there's something else going on when you're on a ship that has filtered out something about Earth stuff, Earth issues, mom and dad stuff, etc. And all of a sudden, or, your subscriptions on your issues when you're on Earth. So I would just say to other experiencers, if you're getting involved with somebody that you've known from a ship, be aware that they may not be the same on Earth as they are on the ship.
And every experience will be the same. Like, you could be having a good time and somebody else might be, being operated on.
Well, that happens all the time. But, there are experiences where you're traveling and the aliens will turn off the gravity in the ship and you can jump around in anti-grav. That's really fun. There are things you learn, like how to float on Earth. And that could be in the astral, but you're still with people that you know. So having floating lessons is really fun. There are other lessons about telekinesis that can be exceedingly fun. And remote viewing class on a ship is really fun. But no, operations, not so fun. And you may be, and the person that you know might have just been under some significant physical stress. And, and you'll be doing something else at that point. But that's just how it works.
Liz, we only have about 2.5 minutes left with you tonight. I want to say thank you for coming in. Once again, take a couple of minutes to describe what you're bringing to Cosmic Passport on Spaced Out Sundays.
Well, I'm a lifelong alien experiencer, a spirit medium, and an animal communicator, and I've also worked in academic science, editing manuscripts and papers and dissertations at MIT and editing journals and running grants and research groups. So I bring both a highly intuitive experiencer side. I did research with John Mack at Harvard. I was one of the first experiencers to work with him, and I worked with him for 7 years. And so I'm in between science and experience, and how do we get these two things to coexist peacefully and harmonically together? But also, how do we just be ourselves as experiencers in the world and learn from what we're going through and what we have been through?
And people should also remember that Psychic Sundays will continue every second week, and you will be bringing in the psychics.
Yeah, we'll be bringing in new psychics. And I teach animal communication and some psychic skills. So I have some really talented students that I may bring on for the first hour just to let you see that somebody who is just learning can be phenomenal. That it's not actually about somebody who has some special gift. That everybody can learn how to do these things. And so there'll be some new people that come on that you have not heard of before, but they will wow you. They will blow your socks off.
I'm excited for you, Liz. I really am excited. And I want to say thank you for jumping on this opportunity to take over Sundays. It's going to be a lot of fun having you around doing the 3 hours. And no offense, I can't wait for you to learn the board so that way I can actually have a night off.
I know.
I would appreciate that. We'll get to that. I'll work with you on Thursday with that.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Liz, give us your website so that way people know where to find you.
I'm at ElizabethAnglin.com.
Excellent. Excellent. Nice and simple. Liz, you hold on for a minute because you know me. Around this time when I got Bumblefoot playing in the background, I got to wrap it up. It's a fast show. It was a fast show, Liz. It was double Liz. Double Liz. That's the way we work it. Okay, Liz, you hold on. Thank you so much for tuning us in on Spaced Out Radio tonight. In the background, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Little brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Want to say thank you to Elizabeth April, who came on for the Spiritual You, our monthly feature with her the second Tuesday, or make that the first Tuesday of every month. And Elizabeth Anglin, who filled in for the final hour. She gets going Sundays. Cosmic Passport on Spaced Out Sundays. Dave Cruz, our new Saturday night host. He'll be in for Spaced Out Saturdays. Yeah, we got real original with the names. But I like that original concept. Easy, simple. I want to say thanks to my team, Everett Thiemer and Eric Markham from the Encounter Online, Tim Doyle and Jolene Lammers on the web design, Catherine James, social media, Bob Davis, our great announcer who leads us into every show, Kim Gandy, Director of Business Management. That is your Spaced Out Radio team helping us bring this all to you. But most importantly, never mind us. It is all about you, my friends. Those in the chat rooms, those on Spreaker, those on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You are the ones who make this a lot of fun each and every night. Tomorrow night on the program, Albert Jack joins us, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. We're going to talk scary nursery rhymes and the paranormal. It's going to be one of those really fun and interesting shows, the real stories behind the nursery rhymes. Tune us in. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, spacedoutradio.com. I will talk to you in exactly 21 hours from now. Thank you for tuning us in. Mr. Bumblefoot, take us home.